starting off with 2150. Getting to the end. China has to do their pre-turn build and such not first. First thing I did is repaired a couple of ships, and now I'm decommissioning those 2 ships. Now here's where things get kind of interesting. If I decommission these 2, I end up getting some more iron, I can repair that one. I'm not sure if that's legitimate. I actually don't really care. I think that it's not unreasonable to be able to do all these tasks at once. You know, it's over the course of a year, just being pre-done. And I don't remember anything that indicated any timing on it. There might be a way that the rules are worded where it kind of leans more towards timing than not. I don't feel like this is the kind of game where I want to dig into that. I would be pretty... I wouldn't say pissed, amused, I think, if a player pulled the rule book out, searched for, no, these appear to be written in timing, therefore we should do it by that. You know, to me, it's just so many of the rules in this game are a matter of apply your best common sense and maybe change them if you don't like them. Which, as you've seen, I have done some just because it's easier to play it that way. I tend to do that with games. And by decommissioning my entire 3-ship navy, I had a lot of iron there that I could repair things with. I was actually able to afford myself the Tinglong, which isn't that the name of... Oh no, we got the Tingong here and the Tianlong there. In order to get myself something that I can actually send out on exploration and mining missions. Because for the rest of the decade, those warships would be essentially unimportant to me. And that's a big deal. You know, I'm going to be the last one moving, so I probably won't be able to get any asteroids. Would I have been able to repair a warship and maybe get some extra cash and some additional victory points? Sure. But right now, I'm really interested in being able to expand out to another planet and start getting some population in place. And just hope that I fly under the radar with all these victory points. With the, wow, we really smashed China in the face. We probably don't need to do it again. Because I'm not going to calculate out, you know, where anyone is. I'm also going to send some materials up to start building a spaceport. Hey, by the time that ship gets out here, there's going to be enough spaceport that, you know, I can probably build. Because I got most of the blue stuff there already. I can probably go build my next base and just start expanding in that way. Might not be much reason to build that next base. The key factor there being, if I can get population here, it's worth as much as population here. But if it does go another decade, having an extra research platform would be very valuable. So you got to kind of balance that and make your decision. I like expanding, but if China is going to face a war, they don't want to. Finally, all this all this money that I have is paying for this to go up. Next turn, I'll probably throw a flyby up. Basically, covering an entire decade is expensive. That 50-something bucks gives me a little bit of padding. You know, other people, you know, around 35 to 40 is what you need to operate, you know, one of these LV4s. I think I can do the quick math. It costs 9 the first turn, and then 4 each remaining turn. So 4 times 9 is 36 plus 9, 45. So actually all that money would go into running this if everything goes perfectly. So yeah, maybe smaller craft make more sense for the people with less money. But yeah, I mean, I do not need to build another one. The one argument in favor of building, if the game ends early, I want to have as much built as possible. So I want to, you know, get things moved out as fast as possible. Yeah, that's true, but if the game ends early, China's probably in a lot of trouble. Like if it ends early this decade. If it takes the entire decade, I don't know. Maybe they catch up, maybe they don't. We're not sure. America at war with elevators. Everybody's got elevators now. With the capacity to build battleships. Drops 2 of them around Earth. Let's make this real. You know, that's a real threat. Russia has a base there. We would rather win the naval battle than try to attack bases, and the Russian bases are well defended is one of the problems. It's only a small defense network over on Mars, but a large one here. But then as we get out to the meat, there's things that can be raided with impunity. No reason to pick on the large defense network sitting around Earth orbit. This was the only place that the South Americans could build their fleet because they're hemmed in everywhere. They weren't able to transport goods. Can't move those goods there. Shit. I may want to not build this because, yes, I may want to ship materials here, but I don't need to make that decision yet. I don't need to have stuff gathering up there. I was going to launch stuff here, but the pirates will intercept that if it gets in there, and I don't want to take that chance. This is expensive. I don't have a lot of money left after building those 2 big warships. All right, probably paying way too much attention to the game at this point, but you know, we're getting towards the end in my mind, and I feel like I have to cover these kind of, hey, we're wrapping things up and more important things are happening now. So Japan looked around, saw nobody else is capable of throwing a quick warship. Oh geez, I have 2 warships there. Oh, screw that, man. Okay. Yeah, I'm already set up with 2 warships. The hell with that. I am not building that. What I am going to do is start moving materials out of here, but I may move more materials. I was going to head them out here and buy some fuel and just, you know, start building this up more. I got to clear this pirate out, but I'm in no position to do that myself at this point. But yeah, there's no reason for me to build this monster. I got 2 warships set. I was ready to go to war. I'd have been silly anyway. I could have built this monster instead. But no need, you know, again. No need whatsoever. I'm trying to remember what I was thinking. Oh yeah, I came back on to say, you know, if I hadn't come on the video, I wouldn't have made that double check. I would have just puttered along and done what I do. And that would be kind of a problem. The other thing is they're also sending up a telescope. Don't have one up. I have a decent one. And the best search is the deep space astronomy. Might get life there. What the hell? Should build its monster ship. I've got a fleet somewhere else. I don't know where. Oh, scattered all over. Blockading South America. So yeah, that's actually an interesting factor, is that there are Russian ships kind of in lots of places where maybe that should have impacted me more, but I didn't take it into enough consideration. And because Asia also built, but they scattered their ships. 4 new ships built. One of them a teeny tiny ship out here at Jupiter, I think. Maybe hoping the Japanese clear that thing out of the way, or maybe hoping that I can somehow get the victory points for killing it with very little gunpowder. I don't know which way that's going to go. I kind of hope the Japanese clear it first, but if not, hey, we'll take a shot. The question is, I did the auto movement, whether Asia wants to jump before Russia. This guy's not in any danger. He could fight this. Again, I might not win, and that would suck, you know, but whatever. I could also just leave. That's not going to interfere with me. I've got a big ship here. The Russians have a big ship there. I've got They take more hits, but we're about equal firepower. I got a drone that it doesn't. I got a big ship here. The Russians have a weaker ship there. I'd like to pick on them. They're at a base on blockade, so I can just schwack them. And then I got this little ship. I think I want to move first, in part so I can hit that Russian ship, and in part so that I can consolidate my fleet somewhere else. Which is, this guy can run away and either go back to Earth, which I think is unwise, or head over here to join in at the asteroid belt, because I don't want to face this. A lot going on for Asia. First of all, this is going to go find that asteroid find. Over here, had to pay the pirate. He found me. Ended up only being $3, so it was pretty cool. Let's see, let me just make sure I got nothing else. This is still mining, no big deal there. I hope there's not a Russian ship out at Jupiter. That would suck. That would be the 3 set. Nope. Good. Shifted from Mars out to here, attacked here. We didn't destroy them, but we did a lot of hurt on them. They're 1 point away from being destroyed. Neither fleet is fatigued, which means if the Russians try to leave, I can intercept them. If they stay there, I can hit them again next turn. Of course, they can surrender, which probably isn't that big a cost at this point. Over here, yeah, we left there. Here I did not find the pirate, and I think that's all my ships. And the stupidity of my economic phase, I realized I fucked up royally. There was still a set of actual embargoes in place, and points were gained for those in terms of settlements. I have to try to guesstimate what came and what didn't, and actually reduce the South American settlements below those numbers. Best guess, I took 3 off each of these. Well, not just 3, 6 off each one, because they would have lost instead of gaining. We've got a countermix problem here on the 5-10 point settlements. I don't think that's something that, should be addressed in any sense. Yes, there are plenty of these out here, but I would rather have a reserve of the big numbers. I can do this with little numbers. That's not horrible. It's not like the spaceports and possibly the refineries, and especially the spaceports, because you kind of need spaceports in every colony. It's not like you can jump and jiggle about with those, whereas there's pretty good reason to believe that players will not build large mining establishments on every colony that they have. So it really comes down to the spaceports. There are not enough of them, and it's a big deal, and they're very likely to be improved to the large side. But the settlements, it's a matter of making change. There is enough change, although we're beginning to run low on the 3s and 4s. Those 1s and 2s will get eaten up real fast. But I think we're at a particularly truculent situation where I wonder if I used that word right. It sounded right in my head, where the numbers, pathological is the word I want to use. That's more in my verbiage, where I just have a lot of those 5-10 markers out there. There may be a few too few. I don't know. It does feel like, though, that the game was not adequately tested. If that spaceport situation can be arrived at, in a single play, unless I'm doing something very wrong, the countermix may not have been exercised as much as possible. It may have been done as kind of a thought experiment or some kind of parallelism or whatever, when an actual play is going to cause those spaceports to come out in mass quantities and at the large level. because they are useless when they're just whatever they are, supply ports or whatever. You need those early in the game, but as soon as you get up to the CV4s, they no longer work. You know, you need to get up to the small spaceport. And unless you have huge range on your CVs, you need it. You actually need it. Troubling with that confused me as to what the Russians, who also wanted to jump, are actually doing. One thing is, I'm smacking that. Wow. I forgot again, and I think it was the same ships, that this is where the problem was, where I could not have my Asian fleet. And now it's going to get the crap kicked out of it by that thing. This was the one I wanted to figure out, and that's where I was. Unidad, which is here. I do not want to attack this. This has a big defensive outpost there. It doesn't have a lot of iron in it, so I think I want to get out of there. And if I'm getting out of there, I want to go this way and arrive at the same time that Asian ship arrives, so that I can conglomerate and get more fire on that. This ship, where did that come from? I don't know. I think it came from Libertad, and I am having a hard time finding any other Russian ships. Have they built none of, yeah, they have none of their freighters built, so that is their fleet. And they don't have much more. I'm trying to build up another ship out in the asteroid belt. That is becoming my key combat zone. Remember, Russia was the better prepared at the beginning of this, but they're facing two opponents, and those two opponents threw out a lot of ships. They're just a little bit scattered, and by taking out, we'll see what happens, but by taking out that Asian ship, we might be able, you know, to sway things a little better in our advantage. Although South America is gathering, they have their fleet here. I don't think they have another ship, and they can't combine with the Asian ships, which is going to be a pain. Certainly coming out ahead, they traded the two ships. The very, very badly damaged ship was lost in exchange for one of Asia's nice ships. That puts them in a bit of a bind, to tell you the truth, because now they have their big ship coming in with the Russians following them. And damaged but acceptable, pretty big ship coming in behind them. And then also, I got this ship, but that's not very impressive on its own, and that's most of my wad. I've got another big ship coming, but it's there. And there is a defensive network there, though, so that's going to be hard to strip that ship away from them. However, by blockading it, I can prevent the materials from getting up there that it still needs to be built. So the Russian Navy may be able to lock Asia from getting another ship, but then the question is, what does that mean elsewhere in the world? And I do have another ship coming in. So, you know, we'll see. I don't know where it's going to go. Go reverse. China moves some ships, you know, nothing too exciting. They've got one ship in the board heading out for that asteroid. But we, uh-oh, that's a dangerous asteroid. Oh well. We're hoping the Japanese clean out the pirates. Then South America goes, not a lot going on. We had a ship flying around down here, doesn't get bothered by the pirate because it's just inside the system, inside the planetary system already. And we've got, which I find a little weird, but okay. It can't find anything that allows you to intercept inter-orbital maneuvers from the fly-by-box, and I'm fine with that either way, so I'm not going to try to do anything. And then the South Americans failed to find this pirate as well, and that guy is really becoming kind of the asshole who's supporting the Russians, apparently. Japan also slides in under the thing. They got a problem. They can't recuperate their ship, but they can't get away without paying the pirate. They got to hope somebody clears it out, and, well, that'll be them if no one else. They get the valuable first pirate worth $10, and the victory and the other marker, but the biggie is the first one gives you the most money. In this case, it was $10. It has some interesting stuff. First of all, their ships are very, very fast. Point 4. They're able to jump from here to here in one turn. Whee! We're running up to catch those pirates. The problem? Well, there's a U.S. warship there that can trump them next turn. So, but it was the best use I had for these ships, except they can't make it out there. I don't have enough base to support them, so screw that. Yeah, I don't know what to do with them. I guess send them here and see what happens. At the worst, I can decommission them out here, but maybe I can decommission them at the next base, because I don't see much value. This is going to get taken care of. This one was taken care of. This one, it's the only use I have for military ships. So tried to cheat there. They boosted their telescope, blew up on re-entry or whatever with their booster, and that leaves just one more country left to actually move. Remember, it's hardest early in the decade. Yeah, but it impacts other people. The Japanese had a freighter here they could have sent to go after this asteroid, and the pirate was my whole goal. I forgot about the asteroid, didn't really look to see that was there. The fact that the EU went after me and made the choice to go here is really the impact here. I feel kind of cheesy about it, but I'm gonna screw the Japanese on this because yeah, I mean, if they had been paying attention, they wouldn't have seen that. So instead I just do a mining, and that is definitely going to be iron I'm looking at there. So 7 is the base. I got a -1. It's 3, so I get 2. The game, those trade chits can be really important. Let me just look at some of the other people. So far, nothing too exciting has happened until I got to the EU, where they moved a lot of trade chits, and you can see they created a lot of resources. Some of them, hey, a bunch of iron on Mars. What am I going to do with that? I don't know. Next decade, that could be useful, but I could lift materials up there and start building things. I could, if I get some fire up there, start moving materials to other more valuable places. So that's kind of important. I did build up to a large supply station, working my way up so that I can get another base out there, but the other stuff and a settlement here after exchanging things. But mainly, I compacted a lot of materials into money and then back coming out. Sort of the best I could do in terms of how much I could exchange, because the exchange rates are so good off the trade chits. So peace was able to move things the way Europe was. They really exchanged things. However, the Russians actually did a pretty good job for someone at war, dumping some materials from Mars, which is kind of behind the lines right now. We don't see that as really able to be reached, and bought myself some stuff that I can build another warship here in the asteroid belt. And like I said, that is the heart of my war effort, is right there. And it's one of the things the game kind of presents as part of the story, is wherever you are, you have some place where you're really able to build ships. Once you have the elevators, you also have Earth, where everybody can throw their whole money into a naval war around the Earth. That might be viable. The Russians have a pile of cash now. They can probably drop themselves 2 big warships there if things start going south. But they feel pretty comfortable with what they've got. And yeah, given the countermix limits in the game, it's hard to build a big fleet, also given the materials and resource limits. But if you already had a working large fleet, you might have the materials coming out of a winning war or something, where you could turn that around and build up another big fleet, have 2 big fleets going, except there aren't the counters for it. I don't know how I feel about that. Certainly games like with, as an example, have a countermix limit to how big your forces can be, but it's usually not all that limited. Italy sometimes runs into it, especially with their excellent naval air. But, you know, in this, you're really being pressed. If you want to fight a war, you're like, I just don't have stuff that I can devote, you know, to a couple different theaters. Even if I completely outclass the enemy in terms of production, I just can't do it. As a corollary to that, for Asia, they had a nice setup where they could sell a bunch of materials. Not the same jiggling around, but they have over 50 billion sitting on Earth, which means those navies I lose, I can rebuild them. So yeah, you know, the depth of your cash reserves is really how many times you can reach into the bench and bring that same navy back, assuming you get a bad roll on it. But basically, two powers that are approximately equal in terms of, you know, they're both strong enough to field their whole fleet, are just going to slam their whole fleets together, see what happens, try to recover afterwards, and if they can't recover the fleet, the elements of their fleet, they can just build a new one, and it's how many times you can rebuild your entire fleet that it comes down to. That is the end of this turn, and I think we're around 6. Anything under 10 I'm going to count, and that is definitely nowhere near under 10, so we don't have to think. All right, that's it for the first year of this decade. Entering the second turn, and boy, I chatted a lot last turn, didn't I? Moving our way up to the Russian and Asian, who are the last couple players to do stuff in the pre-planning. China starts things off. They built themselves a ship. South America not really able to do anything for themselves militarily, so not a lot of action there at all. But some of the others, Japan, Europe, are boosting some kind of mechanical robotic exploration. They're going with the orbiter there on Saturn. North America is also doing that. Not necessarily, not Saturn, Jupiter is the primary location. And, you know, now that the pirate's out of the way, we can slide in. Russia, able to build another one of their bigger warships, and not building anything at Earth, not boosting anything, because there's crap there. I don't know if I slipped crap through there. I tried to boost past that pirate before, but and maybe succeeded. I think a lot of people did. Oops, like everybody? That's not good. Yeah, again, I don't have an easy way of marking, hey, Earth is under siege. I could put markers in the boxes, but it's really hard for me to remember without doing something. Asia is boosting a bunch of shit up here so they can build this big ship next turn. Next turn's a little late. Yeah. I may also want to launch another warship, and when I looked, I found something interesting. They have this huge fucking freighter. Again, you know, it's like you can't make any expectations out of what somebody's got. This is a ship that it's not as bad as, you know, it's not like this freighter, but, you know, it can haul a lot of material. Yeah, I'm not interested in that right now. What I'm interested in is throwing some warships into play. Now, the real question is, how much do I want to devote to my warships? How much of this is about bringing Russia down, and how much is about getting victory points? You know, I'm probably not going to get victory points unless I have a bigger commitment to the military than I have so far, though. And that's, I guess you kind of got to go big or go home. And I'm thinking about throwing some more ships out there. That decision, I made a count of my ships, and I don't know what I got. I lost track. I can either build 2 or 3 more ships. I'm not sure which. So yeah, I got 1 there. I got, this is where it gets hard. 2, 3, 4, I got 5 ships on the board. I could decommission this one to make myself some room because that's not really doing me any good right now. So what did I say? 5. 5, I have the capacity to hold 5. So I'm allowed 4 more ships, which means I could build, yeah, I could easily build these 3. And I have a ton of money. Is that what I want to do? I don't know. The answer was yes. Another big squadron of ships, but that tapped Asia out. Might I get more money? Well, yeah. I mean, there's still some pirate money and stuff, and maybe I can get resources off of Russia. It makes the purchase of this heavy lifter a big question because I spent $5 plus the 4 materials, but I'm spending a lot of money to get materials up there for the warships when I might just win here, you know. But if I do win, I'm going to start trying to crack the Russian bases. Is there any value to that? Not really. Shooting up their materials, you know, really make them hurt. And the material that those warships represent can move out and be dismantled. And that may not be that bad a thing. So the Asians open up, they take the jump on the lead, they attack the Russian ship and destroy it, taking a couple of hits themselves, no retirement. That puts them close to this thing. They're weaker, but you know, it's not a sure thing that the Russians can win that battle. And again, we get some victory points, some engineering chits, and we got a whole bunch of stuff that we just built that we're launching out. So, you know, we may win the temporary advantage against the Russians, and that may allow us to bust up what they have down here. For the rest of the turn, people were able to get their launches off because someone cleared Earth. So, you know, yeah, I cheated for a turn. Mistakes like that are just going to happen when you play something this big. And the question is, do you kind of hate them and let them really spoil the game, or do you kind of embrace them and just accept and try to find an explanation for them? I'm not sure what the explanation is for that, but whatever. And that is just the particulars of like launching stuff from Earth. I just have not been able to internalize the issue. A little bit of a race going on about this asteroid here. It looks like the Japanese are going to get it, but the Chinese are going to get this one, so that's fair. But the Chinese could have moved on, right? But they wanted to hope maybe the Japanese would forget, and it was possible. No die roll on that or anything. If I remember, I remember, and chances are I will. Which means you generally, if you're moving early, you do, in the solo play, you do want to kind of say, he's probably not going to go for it. You know, he's probably not going to forget it. But if both sides forget it, you know, if you didn't see it, there's chances are, like if I didn't see it as the Chinese, chances are I wouldn't see it as the Japanese. But seeing it as the Chinese, I figured I'd still take a chance. I did not search this, and I should have. I'll go back and fight that combat out. It's not a perfect combat, but I got a long way before I get reinforcements in there, and I want to shoot that up and then move on. We've got some exploration going on over here. The guy who found the asteroid is still going to try for exploration. Why not? But the biggie is the Russians combined their 2 ships. They made an attack, took some damage. The Asians were able to get a slight advantage and force a fire combat. I mean, they were going to be destroyed no matter what. The question is whether all those Russian missiles could be, drones, whatever, could be limited. And by taking all those away, you know, I make it a lot more likely that I do some damage. But we got some big points coming for that, and that means we got to rebuild that ship. And, you know, I mean, again, it's a game of attrition, you know, but attrition in the sense that it's sort of like a Spanish Armada type attrition. You lose your entire fleet, yeah, go build another one. On the bright side, the North Americans failed to find the pirate here. So it didn't really affect anything. And that is going to throw us into exploration and then base building. Semi-off-topic chatting. So I was thinking I had to relight my pipe or repack a pipe, and that involves running downstairs because I don't have tobacco up here, which is for the best. The whole lockdown type situation, which is back in effect for me, I had like 3 weeks where I went out dancing. It's much more limited now, in theory, but in terms of the actual effect on me, it's exactly the same, which is that I don't get to go dancing, and there's pretty much nothing else I do. I had stopped going to the game store for various reasons the last couple years. The first year I was here, was great, and then I was kind of a no more gaming, no more store clerk gaming on Saturdays, and Saturday was the day that was easiest to get people together. It was, Sundays they have a shorter day open. Weekdays, just about impossible. I probably should have tried to get stuff going there more often, but I don't know. It was so hard. It would only be 2-player stuff, as opposed to trying to get big multiplayer games going. So it just didn't happen, and I couldn't ever track, when the likely times were, because schedules were shifting around and everything. But anyway, enough of that. We wandered off somewhere where we didn't intend to go. But I gotta say, the whole lockdown thing has made it, because I'm not going out on Friday nights, which I hate, and I'm not completely exhausted on Saturday, to make it much, much easier to play games on the weekends. Now, every other Sunday I still had the ability to play, but for a game like this, where there's not, where the turns are fairly long, and it feels like a big investment, and unlike Vietnam, I don't have easy, I'm done, I can just walk away and not do anything. Vietnam had the every year, I think it was every year, every turn, every season. It had a fair size interface, but there were 2-player turns per or 2 game turns per season, and the game turns ate up most of the game, and you could kind of walk away at almost any time in that. This is not. Now, this has a sequence of play that I could break, kind of like I do with Europa Universalis or whatever, in between pulses or whatever. Each turn here feels longer than a pulse of Universalis, because there's production that goes on, and pre-planning and all kind of stuff like that. It's not just moving a couple of pieces per player, although it was at the beginning of the game. So what I'd have to do is kind of take I finished the movement and combat phase, I'm on the exploration phase, put a couple of dice there. One thing that would help, and I'm not asking for more goodies, but yeah, games that have a track that allows you to keep track of which phase you're in or whatever. A lot of times I feel like, well, that's stupid, because turns are 20 minutes or something. You really don't usually need it. But with this one, when it starts getting deep into the game, yeah, you know what? It would be really helpful to be able to mark which phase I'm in and whose turn it is and whatever. So I could walk away. I could play for 5-10 minutes and then wander away and come back again. Of course, that 5 minutes and then back again or whatever, that caused problems in Vietnam, because I would play 5 minutes and then walk away for a week. Oh, for the first time, I noticed something interesting. Everybody reached Space Hauler. No. Did everybody reach it? I just counted that everybody did, and I may be wrong. Where's the big heavy carrier? Oh, nope. Okay. So only China and EU have it. I was thinking, because I just overloaded that because I thought everybody had it. Because I saw this and thought this was it. and Japan sitting there with all that iron, and they're about to harvest an asteroid, they might be able to have carried everything at double carrying capacity. Oh boy, does this ship become interesting. But it can't mine or anything. It is just a freighter and an explorer. A good explorer, slightly cheaper than the warships, I hope. Not much. But yeah. Okay, where am I? Who am I? Is the COVID setting in? I'm doing the Asian exploration, and I gotta swap batteries. I'm just making sure I got everything. Got that guy, got the guy out there fatigued, this guy fatigued. Do I have 2 fatigue markers? I do not. I forgot to give him a second biomarker. Talk about idiocy. The EU fled this asteroid thinking I can surely not get it because they move after China and Japan. Ah, crap. Letting it stand. I'm not trying to fix anything anymore. I'm letting the mistakes stand as just vagaries and luck now. So the base is absolutely no military builds whatsoever. However, when you look at countries like Russia or Asia, they made choices not to build settlements where they've got ships that are planned to be built, which is wise. And another check for the end of the game. Getting closer. Despite my brave words yesterday about, hey, it's great having, the lockdown type situation where I get to play more. Honestly, I felt like shit. I slept most of the day already. And it's super hot. I wish I was down in the basement, honestly. It's nice and cool down there. And I just don't feel too good, but I'm trying to push out a turn now and maybe one later tonight. Tomorrow I'm worried about shopping, so you may never see this if I don't make it. But I was thinking a little bit about, I'm trying to remember one thing I was thinking about was shooting these materials up. There would be a way of handling this if there were more of these little flags. What you could do is, instead of making it an instantaneous transfer by rocket booster, which feels improper to me. It doesn't fit the level of detail of the rest of the game, but again, it's a design decision that seriously, requires some kind of major tinker to fix. The major tinker that I think of is if there were more little flags, you could put a flag on each little resource thing, or maybe put it in a little box with a flag or something, and move it down. You could have a holding box that has it or whatever. And again, there's a lot going on in this game already. Remembering stuff like that would just make it harder, but it would also fit in more with the game, which means that you could launch rockets not knowing whether or not there's going to be an enemy in the way to intercept. And that's really where the problem comes in. There's a little bit of the, hey, yeah, it's instantaneous transport, and, my movement speed is completely ignored by the fact that I'm using a booster. That feels a little weird, but on the other hand, it feels exceptionally weird with, I gotta clear a space for them, and once that's clear, and honestly, it would be equally predictable, etc. Once that's clear, I can fire a rocket through. My changes in the sequence of play open up some additional opportunities for being able to get that rocket through safely. It's not going to matter, though, if because of the amount of information in the game, it's so complex that I can't keep track of that there's a fucking pirate sitting on Earth. I think with more plays, more familiarity. I've certainly improved greatly in terms of keeping track of stuff. I think with more plays, more familiarity, and comfort with the system, it will be possible to do that in a solo type environment. I'm not so sure in a massively opposed game. Like, I feel like, sure, the other players are there to be a check on you not doing the right thing, but I feel like the idea of the distraction of being in a multiplayer situation, unless everybody's just focusing completely on the game, which I don't believe is any fun, and, is just not the kind of game I play. in terms of the groups that I play with, trying to play a Euro or worse, something like this, as if it's a fucking chess match. Yeah. Let me look at what else is going on, though. South America, not able to build much at all. China, working to try to get their expansion. Japan, throwing another orbiter out. This is an expense. The idea here is, let's get one out to Saturn and try to get all the tech that we can. We are hoping that the game doesn't end this decade. If it does end this decade, this is a bad policy. I should be just building settlements. Everybody waiting on somebody to clear Neptune so that they can boost materials and fix their ships. This ship would have been dismantled under the rules I was talking about, because it would take so long to get the rocket there, and I'm not sure that when that's going to clear. So, why keep it there? I can build settlements with that ship instead, but with with the North America, of course, I might have launched the rocket already in the hopes that it would get cleared, and then it would have to make the chance through. Anyway, what am I doing with the EU? Geez, I don't know. I'm launching some shit up. I got a fair amount of money, but I can accelerate towards the end of the decade, assuming the game goes that far. And again, that's a decision of, wow, should I spend all my money for quick victory points now because the game may end? And in general, my answer is no. The reason there's that game end thing is to prevent that kind of activity, not to encourage it. But clearly, as that percentage gets up there, people are going to be accelerating the amount of their victory point production versus other things. And we close things out with a couple of the more military powers. The Russians, unable to launch because there's a big pile of Asian ships sitting around Earth. Just too dangerous. Those could each split off and each try to intercept it. There's almost no chance I get through. Or they could operate as a fleet and be rolling on a 7 with their missile bonuses, which is probably extensive. It's at -2. So yeah, there'd be a 10% chance of getting through. And that's probably the better chance of getting through. Asia, on the other hand, builds another warship in the asteroid zone, which is where the Russian fleet is gathered. And why is that here? Well, that helps defend my base and the materials that were needed to build that ship, which are now gone. But also, that can allow me to do, a coordinated move onto there and make that an untenable position for Russia if this fleet moves. Now, it's probably untenable anyway, but where does Russia go? They've got damaged ships. This is their base. This is what they were intending as a base. Making that choice, well, all my materials are here. It's not enough materials to build another ship, but it's enough materials to do some repair work. Puts me in a tough bind, especially since there's also South American ships coming due as well. Before we move to the belligerents, South America shifted up here. Now, this is somewhat dangerous. The Russians could go up and intercept them, but they only have 2 ships. And I check and make sure if I'm telling the truth there, because they could have one hiding on a base that could pop up that I'm not aware of. They only have 2 ships heading, that they could head there. That would be an even fight, and they'd be abandoning this, presumably, to the Asians if they do that. It's a hard call what they're going to do. North America managed to bust up the pirates there in advance of the Japanese and their other ship coming. It's a big deal. First of all, it gets rid of my little pirate markers, but I also have the capability to make it out at least to the Kuiper Belt, to do exploration. I don't know. I am actually the person with the North Americans are the ones with a crew range of 4, so I could make it as far as the scattered disk. Ooh, which, you know, Kuiper Belt has a 1, scattered disk has a 2 as one of its search things. But again, you know, every little bit helps. And the tough movement decisions. The Russians choose to stay out here and repair their ship. That's going to give them a fair-sized shipping capability. Asia decides to abandon, I think I was in Earth orbit, and make it out to the asteroid belt to challenge them. Now, they have more ships, but they may be outgunned by those Russian ships. Those Russian ships are quite good. They're the high end of the Russian capability, whereas even if we throw this one in, which we certainly should, most of our ships are not the high end, but we have a lot more firepower. So, you know, does Russia pull out of there before the Asians come? I don't know, maybe. If they can get their ship repaired, they've got a clean shot, you know, in terms of firepower against the South Americans. Now, let me make sure I've got, yeah. I just wanted to check to see if I've got all my blockades in the right place finally, because I've been ignoring the Earth blockade of Russia, really. But there were previous ones by the pirates. All right, on to exploration. A low ebb for exploration right now. Not a lot going on, not a lot of mining going on. A lot of ships were frozen by those pirates. EU managed to get a depletion here. Japan managed to break their telescope. And I managed to skip over the North Americans and then went back and rolled them. See, that's one of the problems with the, hey, no takebacks type thing. There's different kinds of takebacks. There's the, I didn't notice something and did something stupid, or there's the, I didn't notice I had a ship set up to do something. And I don't even imagine that in opposed play, it would be terribly likely that you would always find all your ships that are out doing things that you want to do. Especially if you get a lot of ships juggling around and moving. Late in the game like this, you get a lot of stuff on the board. It's hard to remember it all. And, you know, this didn't impact anyone, so it seems perfectly fair to do. Whatever. 2 more small spaceports built. I'm really taxing my quantity of those big white square counters. I thought I was out. I managed to find 1 more. But yeah, I mean, you know. And meanwhile, of course, here are all my small supply station markers. And all my small mining, my mining stations. You know, obviously, you're not going to need so many if you're playing with less players, but with more players, you need the heavier end more than you need the light end. Okay. Because you can't diversify, you can't have both research and mining going on in the same planet. So you got to make your choice. And yeah, maybe if the game goes long enough, we'll slowly start switching over to mining as well. But if that starts happening, it's the large refineries that are going to be, yeah, they're actually, am I tapped out of refineries? I think I am. I think I'm done with refineries too. All I have left is defense stations, which I can definitely see why you might need more. And a couple of research bases, which also seem a little too limited. Okay. That puts us at the end. Nothing major military happened in terms of builds. And that's not an O2. So we will keep going, and I may make it up for another one tonight. I don't know. I feel like crap, though. Planning and production for this 4th turn of the decade. Now that this bottleneck's cleared up, a number of people are moving towards the expansion out into the Kuiper Belt. Not necessarily, you know, a colonization. I don't think anybody is capable of doing that because only the North Americans have the range to reach here. I'm sorry. No, that's not correct. But everyone who has the range, only the North Americans have the range to reach from Uranus to Kuiper Belt. So everyone who does have the range to reach there has already used all their bases, and the North Americans are among those people. One of the people, maybe two, I don't see the Chinese there yet. They're working their way closer though. But the EU has a freighter, actually two of them. They'll be able to haul materials out to Neptune and start building a base there. On the military side of things, less is going on. Let's see. The Russians, unable to fully repair their big ship, sending some more materials up. As long as they'll be able to get them through. They go before. These guys are 2 turns out, so that's not a problem. The Chinese are not a risk. So I will be able to repair that ship and, start building up materials for building a new ship if need be. With this slow growth, I got enough cash that I could build a warship back on Earth if needed. Again, it all kind of depends on, what comes of this sort of cataclysmic battle between Asia and Russia. South America, barely anything they can do. Asia, not a lot they can do either. They're basically working with their freighters out at the edges, colonization, whatever, exploration, in order to get those things moving. They can't really help the military effort with those ships. Their gamble is that this will win it, along with this. And the odds are in their favor, but whatever. It's a lot, and when I don't think I've mentioned it. China going first, no one wanted to trump in. There's no immediate military concerns right now. Sailed into here, delivering, this was off an asteroid, some of the fuel. I'm planning on selling that at the end of the turn. I don't really talk too much about that, but it is one of the things that sometimes I do is I deliver materials so that I can get rid of those chits and make some extra money. In this case, I'm actually losing a turn by stopping here, but, it looks like a valuable thing rather than boosting materials constantly. Who's got the super heavies? Shit, I can't remember. China is one of them. I could be lifting more materials with my rocket. China and the EU. And I'm completely forgetting that about both of them. And if I put it on the card, I still wouldn't think to remember to look at it. Hi. During things and my twist in the way I do the sequence of play, the Russians actually have to lift their damaged ship, not badly damaged, into the flyby box. Because next turn, Asia could trump in and attack them before. Now, if I escaped or whatever, yeah, I'd get a turn to get away. But I'd rather take the 1 point of damage or 1 point less firepower facing the Asians. I'm still undergunned, but that's life. Point, this is the one turn where there's basically nothing doing any exploration or mining. The North Americans decided to launch their ship out further where it's more valuable to have the materials that it had found. It can do mining out there just as well as it can where it was piddling around and getting lost. And basically no one else has anything they're doing. The EU, one of their mining ships came in, another one, basically they had a turn where both things landed. Asia just sending something out to Kuiper to explore land. Only one die roll was made, and that was a depletion on the deep space by the EU. And no extra life there. I sit down to the bases. There's one thing about the random end of game that bothers me. Things always bother me, right? In this case, it bothers me in conjunction with the heavy economic turns or interphases that happen on the first turn of every decade. And I slide them to the end of the video for each decade because it just feels more appropriate to me, and it worked that way. It's that you spend a couple of hours working on, it's the heaviest thing in the game, basically, is that whole economic side of things. It doesn't generate any victory points. The game could end after one turn, after that. That would feel very, very, very painful to have gone through that big expense and then get that. Now, luckily, the game doesn't end right after the economic phase, in which case I'd just roll the die, like it doesn't end at the beginning of a turn. I'd roll the die before I did the economic phase. But all the same, it is painful to know that you have to make this huge investment and then, the game just ended. Anyway, I'll go do my bases while I mull on that. If you're going to have if you're going to have these two things, that's going to happen, and you just kind of have to cope with it. But it is one of those, there's a cost to every decision you make when you make a game. And again, not a whole hell of a lot happening in the base building phase, just the expansion outward, and that's kind of slow. Let's see what our number is. It's got to be around 9 now. That's the game. Yay. I almost didn't do it on video. And I realized, when this fails, people are going to say I just gave up. All right. Well, we're done. What does that mean? It means we start counting the cost in terms of they start racking up the victory points for each country. I am in no state to do that today, and I don't know if I'll be in state to finish it up by tomorrow. But we'll see what I can do. I know I've got the shopping, but my head is pounding, and I'm not in good shape. All right, I'll be back. Particularly hot weekend, and I ended up canning shopping. I've been feeling pretty bad yesterday, day before, really all week. And I was resigned to try to go. Ended up heading up partway up the hill. I got to crest the hill. I'm near the top, but really just a short walk, and I was feeling winded, and I'm like, I can't chance this. Well, my wife and I went for a walk, and physically, I was still feeling winded. I had made some coffee when we got back from that little walk, just a walk around the neighborhood rather than doing the whole shopping, haul 200 pounds up a couple miles of steep hill. And I feel much better now. Coffee seems to do something wonderful. I don't know what the hell it is. Chocolate seems to do something wonderful. Anyway, back to the game. So I've finished, and now I have to face counting up the victory points, which is really just something I'm going to be spreadsheeting. But I wanted to chat a little bit about not just my health, for whatever reason. I view these as talking to friends, as if, it's basically the replacement for something I used to do on my role-playing night, which was I'd have people come over and look at the game state of some long game I was playing, and I'd, tell them about what happened in the last week, and that's kind of what has always influenced what my playthroughs are. I like to show the game, but I kind of like it to be from this position that's a little further back than, certainly than a play-by-play. But I do use the format to do other things, give that final review, whatever that is, the intro, and also a little bit more detail than I'd give when people are watching, when people were coming and trying to find out what was happening. I'd be like, oh, look, the North Americans in Asia, Japan, and South America have made it out as far as Neptune. These people have gotten their exploration bonuses. That's the kind of thing I would say. I wouldn't have much to say. I'd just be showing them and telling them a few words. Anyway, Some thoughts that I've got about it. As always, when playing a big game, the end is kind of, it's cherished, desired, whatever. And there's no question I wanted this to end soon. On the other hand, there's a certain, oh God, I've put so much into this and now it's just over, which is particularly poignant when there's this sort of random end. And in this particular case, it's especially painful because, I've got this one big battle. How much would this decide? I don't know, but there were some victory points on the line for sure for the players involved. And this looked like a big gain for Asia, probably, because they outgunned the Russians. But who knows, And then also, all these plans, North America, Europe, planning on getting the 5 points for Alpha Centauri. That's gone. No way they're going to get that. The expansion, well, that would basically favor the people who are not in a war situation. People who are in a war were supposed to collect their victory points kind of quickly. It didn't happen this decade. Not a whole lot of fighting happened and not a lot of points changed hands. But so it kind of hindered them. They probably fell behind a little bit on that. Anyway, I'm going to spreadsheet out those victory points and then go over them. Then I got to clean up and come back with a review. Okay, so I charted out across each of the different victory point types that are listed. Let's take a look at some of the majors. Now, one of the things is I did consolidate exploration and colonization as subtotals, so we'll get to that in a bit. But victory markers, hey, China had the most of these. We knew that. They were sitting with a lot. Russia not far behind. No one got colonization techs. This is the bonus text there. Those are incredibly valuable. The bio one was nearly was capable of being reached. However, nobody had the, they didn't have the tech points to get it last turn. Again, this one, a lot of players could have reached it. Well, 2 players could have reached it on this next turn conceivably. This one a little further out of the reach. A lot of effort made on the military stuff. Granted, not real effort. These were, hey, let's buy this because it's the only thing I can buy to delay my decision making, and I don't have a lot of points in engineering, but but those are wasted towards getting your colonization. Some of these other techs are also wasted towards getting your colonization techs, but they're much more limited sets. But yeah, still, you can find places on the track. This is a much cleaner track here with this sidebar. This other side, yeah, I think they all have kind of non-contributing elements to them. Now, you got to be careful because this contributes to both of these techs. Right? Oh no, you don't need anything on this crew vehicle chain, strangely enough, which is exactly what I would think you would need. Nope, you don't need any of that whole line to get to the tech. They're too valuable not to, and likewise, you do need the speed, yeah, but you don't need past here. Yeah, it's kind of weird, but yeah, I'm very shocked that there's no feed-in from this whole, crewed vehicle and manned operations. That's a bigger bone than the military one. Those are more expensive and more valuable for exploration, etc. That's kind of strange. Okay, going on. Nobody has any settled, terraformed planets. You really kind of have to go for that, and again, the chance that somebody else is going to be on the same planets that you are makes it really painful. So this would be, if you're on the planet and you have the majority, you get a bonus for that, which of course disincentivizes other people to work with you, like we were kind of seeing people trying to do. Missions. Big bonus for the Russians. They got a lot of the mission markers. North America, Asia, they really fell behind. Others, kind of in the middle. China is between the Russian and the Pac. Exploring Alpha Centauri, a few people got the 5 points for that. 5 points seems like a lot. Well, that's about equal to a mission marker, but mission markers aren't available at the end of the game when you can start doing this. We saw, they got killed before anyone could score the CV mission markers. Okay, settlements. We're going to look at this more broadly later, but it's divided. They're cheaper and they're less valuable to you if they're close to Earth. But as you get further and further out, the total number of settlements is multiplied. I've got the actual raw score here, so like China and Europe only had one settlement in the beyond. Terraform Settlements, this was the thing I was basically looking at, not the most settlements on a single terraformed planet. And again, this only counts if you get at least 50% terraforming or fully terraformed, both of which seemed very much out of reach. Infrastructure. Infrastructure is all the non-settlement markers that you have on the planet, on your planets out there in bases. And that is a fairly consistent number, Even people who are building defensive networks and stuff, they end up pretty close in total, to tell you the truth. Missing tech, again, pretty much consistent. This is all the techs that you're missing are worth 3 points each taken off you. Tech points, this is remaining tech points. If you had scored a lot of tech points in a period, here's one thing. I rounded up on all these values. I seem to remember that was what was indicated, but I didn't want to dig into the rules to see it. So if you had 1 tech point remaining, you would get a point. South America did not have any remaining tech points. None left over from last turn, none here, so they lose a victory point. That's terrible. But you need 20 of them to get, 21 of them to get up to 2. Political markers, similarly, this was sort of an on-off. If you had any, you got it. It's every 5, so again. And you could round on the point on 0.5 instead. It's not going to make a hell of a lot of difference. Fleet, okay. China, after having lost a war, has very little fleet points. And these are a combination of your REs and your CVs. But the REs are just a half point each. The CVs are based on the size of the CV. So having a big, powerful fleet is going to be worth a lot of points. Well, other than China and Asia with a big 20, everyone's pretty much at the same level, whether they're at war or not. The threat of war, etc., has kept fleets in existence. China has just a couple of these CV4s and nothing else, no REs. So what does this all total up to? Well, Russia was doing quite well, and I was right about that. The surprise, Asia, 178. They end up with a victory in this game, and other players other than North America are all pretty much in a pack, between 130 and 140. Russia and Asia getting the jump on it. North America had horrible luck at the beginning of the game, if you recall. They had trouble both settling and getting exploration points out and everything. They just faced an early bone, and it never really recovered. It wasn't that clear that they were in that bad a shape because they were the first ones out here, But yeah, the fact that they had fallen behind on the tech chart, when North America's advantage is being able to buy new tech, and they start with a lot of tech, they start with a lot weighted in their favor. And you can see just the horrible luck they got at the beginning of the game really put them in that bad position. The additional things I wanted to look at were exploration, colonization, and tech. Well, tech, everybody was pretty much at the same. The thing that's hard to figure out is where victory point markers fit in. I was going to do them as exploration, but that's not fair. They're military value as well. And I could combine like maybe half the there's no way to tell where the victory point markers came from. There were a few of them that came from exploration, but the majority came from the military operations. But some people got like 10 or more points from just exploration activities. So that's tough to analyze there. So I left that out. Exploration is really just the mission counters plus did you get to Alpha Centauri. So that's not very interesting. We know those values. Colonization, though, is the addition of all the settlements, and this is why I saw this as interesting, plus the infrastructure. And here we can see everyone's largely in that same range again, right around 130. A little bit of an outlier there, but China, who got into way too much war, down to 103. So their 30-point penalty, for not being able to colonize as much, and they actually had some shot up too, puts them right in the running with Russia, and not that far behind Asia. And then. And honestly, if the Asian fleet hadn't been so huge, of course, maybe they could use those points for something else, but those points were conglomerated for that fleet and just perfect for launching that. They might not have been winning, right? They'd be below Russia in that case. The other interesting one, other than China, is Asia, and this is how they won. They're 30 points over in colonization. How did they get such good colonization over everyone else? Yeah, I'm not sure. I really don't know. I'm wondering if I cheated some points to them somehow, because it really felt like people could lift so much stuff. I would expect South America to be doing well in this, and they were. They're in second place in the colonization because their capability to lift stuff. I don't know why Asia got so much colonization points, and I'm wondering if maybe Japan bought some of their points, because I had some trouble, or South America did. I had some trouble in both cases with remembering what was going on. That's life, I think one thing that it does make clear, though, is getting those initial missions is really, really valuable. There's not a lot you could do. Like, the North Americans were trying as much as anyone else. There's also the idea that, all that exploration that's getting you those is going to get you the tech that allows you to improve. It's going to get you the tech points that allow you to position yourself better for all facets of the game. So that early exploration is really, really valuable. The other thing I would say is it looks to me, although I can't be certain, that colonizing is where you want to have it. Military action, I don't think, is the way to victory. But some of that may be psychological. You start getting a pile of victory points like this and a pile of mission markers like this, and everybody thinks you're in the lead because it's harder to count your settlements, But I think you can kind of slip under the lead. There's two reasons colonization is so important, and I'm not just talking about getting settlements. I'm talking about, getting the infrastructure in place as well. And that's actually really important, because that infrastructure is either going to be giving you more production that you can build more settlements and more colonization, or more military if you need to. But it's also possible that it'll be getting you the tech if you're building research stations. So, you've got to make that balance there. I can't tell you a whole hell of a lot about, this technology is definitely the killer one, or, this is the strategy to win. Not on one play, maybe not on a dozen plays. There's so many permutations in this game. There's a lot of depth and richness, that's for sure, in terms of, what emerges from the complexity of the game. No question about that. So, I thought it definitely seemed worthwhile to total up the victory conditions. I was a little surprised. I did not expect Asia to be pulling away by 20 points. I didn't expect Japan to be so far behind. I thought they were doing okay. they had a fair pile of chits and a decent amount of victory points. It's the colonization. And again, I think I may have cheated some colonization over to Asia. I'm not sure how that happened. It just, there's this sort of, I understand. You know what did happen? Asia was not involved in a war until the last turn of the game. Everyone else was involved in wars earlier. That may be the differentiation there. The cost of those wars, even just 1 decade at war for Japan or for, South America spent 2. Even just 1 decade at war may have been enough to cost them. So I would say the lesson that I'm learning is kind of the one that I had at the beginning. War ain't worth it. Even though there's that victory point bonus for it, war is not worth it. The colonization is too important. Colonization, exploration, etc. So even, the only reason to use war is like Asia did, let's try to take Russia down, we think they're winning, And again, I wouldn't suggest pre-calculating who's winning or whatever. I'd go on gut feeling. Obviously, that's not going to give you as detailed or correct a view, but the idea of counting up somebody's points every decade or something to see, just counting up the people who look like they might be in the lead. That sounds like such a pain. I'd rather just get sort of a general feel and see what happens from that. And that's just the way that I like to play games. I don't like to overly analyze, what the current board state is. And in some games, it's so obvious. I find it actually pleasant when it's not. When it's like, wow, they look like they're doing good. And then you get a surprise at the end. Damn, didn't expect that. That even happens to me in 18XX, where, even in 1830, when I think I just have an absolute feel for the game, there are times where I'm shocked by who won. I just don't realize how much stock value they have or something like that accumulated, because I'm not going to count. I'm not going to pay that much attention to things, which is one reason why things like these victory point counters as hidden trackable information don't bother me one bit. Because I know that everybody at the table will forget them. There's almost no one with a good enough memory to be able to picture the whole game state in something complex. And because of that, it makes decision making a little bit less odious and tedious in terms of just having to recalculate and rebalance and all that. Anyway, pleasant surprise overall, I have to say. I'll come back with my review after I clean this up. How long is it going to take to clean this up? Oh my God. I mean, I don't think it's as easy as cleaning up even, some of the monster war games, just because, man, there's just so much shit intermingled all over the place. So much shit. Okay, sending it up.